Hey fam, welcome back. Hopefully you're doing good and having a great day. If you're not, please let me know what I can do to help you. Until then, got a video from Damon Cassidy. Came across this video earlier and I watched quite a bit of it. And so after all that I had watched, there's a lot to say. And so I had to sit down and make a video about it. Because look, it's not just women that are going to have a wake up call in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be everyone. And when I mean everybody, I mean every single regular average American is really gonna every average American is already feeling this right now, but it's really gonna get a lot worse here soon. And so let's go ahead and get into it.
According to the Federal Reserve, young workers entering the job market are now facing the worst unemployment rate in nearly 40 years, with applications outpacing job openings by 400%, and with 300 million people projected to lose their jobs to AI.
I'm gonna be pausing it quite a bit here because there's just so much information. 400%, that is absolutely insane. Here's the thing, and I'm trying to get this information before people start clicking off. We are doing much worse than what our great grandmothers and great grandfathers did, even in the Great Depression. We're doing significantly worse. If you look at the rates that young adult Americans are staying with their parents, it is well above the 19 teens, 1920s, and 1930s and 40s. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. And all of us now are feeling this massive financial oppression because of all of these monopolies, all of these corporations shaking hands with politicians, selling the American out to overseas workers where they can essentially abuse them. And naturally that's going to affect the economy. And we are catching the brunt end of it. You know, these people that are in these giant corporations making these decisions, it's not going to affect them much. And when our economy finally collapses, it's not going to be these conglomerates, right? It's not going to be these Fortune 500 companies that are going to suffer from anything. No, they're just going to go somewhere else. But it's us. We are the ones that are going to starve.
Just within the next 5 years. It raises the question, how close are we to a complete job market collapse? Well, the job market has evolved drastically throughout history, with each generation facing severe economic and cultural upheaval. The compounding effect of rapid technological expansion and the constant selling out of the future has left today's working class in a crisis unlike anything we've seen before. One of the first major issues we are facing is the consequences of reclassifying humans as consumers, as it has fundamentally changed the incentives behind our economic data. Where rather than looking at the unemployment rate as a direct representation of the working class being unable to provide for their family, or the youth being unable to build a foundation that will be the backbone of the nation's future, we live in a reality where the stock market is actually banking on the fact for unemployment to get worse. So interest rates will come down and we'll be able to just drown ourselves in debt even easier. The government views the unemployment rate as, as fuel for reelection campaigns, as you can either blame the previous administration for all of the conflict that we're facing, or you can take credit for the reversal. One of the best ways that we can see this is the job revisions that have occurred in the past year, which now totals over 1 million jobs that were never actually created. Where despite continuously being told how great the job market is, every sign that shows things are not what they appear miraculously keep getting brushed under the rug. And so then when you look at the corporate perspective, this manipulation of job data is actually being implemented into their business model. I recently just spoke with a gentleman, and he's actually going to be on the channel in my next video. He spent his entire career in tech, and he's probably like 45, late 40s, early 50s, maybe mid 50s. He got laid off from his company, or the company went under because they were found guilty for manipulating employment data to show that they were growing, um, for venture capitalists to get funding for their business. Since then, he has applied to hundreds of jobs.
That should be absolutely illegal. That is absolutely committing fraud, and that should be illegal.
Hasn't been able to get a job. He is now working at, or hasn't been able to get a tech related job, a job that he has had experience in for his entire career. He is now working overnight shifts at Walmart, stocking dog food on the shelves. And it's important because, again, this isn't just, Gen Z just being lazy, not
See, this is what I'm saying, right? Is The little guy is the one that gets fucked over because at that point, when this company faced, I guess, whatever consequences that it had gotten, they had the cash to invest into something else. I can guarantee you they did. Because obviously, if they're willing to do some manipulative shit like this in order to commit fraud against their investors, I can guarantee you they have some kind of backup plan to pull out and invest into something else. These are just who these people are.
Able to get a job if you just go out there and work harder. This is, an older gentleman that is very smart and, really great to speak with and still optimistic and hopeful. And this is what he's experiencing. And I'm not stating that somebody working at Walmart doing that job is anything less. I'm just stating it isn't in alignment with his experience and his work history. What we are also finding is that businesses are actually using this as a tactic to combat each other and to get data from one another. And this is a Bloomberg report that I'm going to go ahead and share here.
So the core allegation was that senior officials at Odin Partners encouraged junior staff to phone up traders at really big banks, give fake names for themselves, fake names for Odin Partners, and try and persuade these traders to share sensitive information about P&L, salary, makeup of teams, some of which information Odin Partners would then share with its clients. So far, they're saying absolutely nothing about this on the record. Now, privately, there's some suggesting that those banks aren't concerned about these allegations at all, like one or two of these banks. So, at one of these banks, there was a suggestion that there isn't a review into these allegations and they plan to keep working with Odin Partners. Another bank, there was a suggestion, well, the information, the intelligence, and the contacts that Odin Partners have are just so good, just so useful.
And so what we begin to recognize is that this dehumanizing aspect of being twisted into to really every which way you look, that there are incentives to improve this. I want to just give you examples, and I've said this before in my videos, but it is crucial that we begin to understand truly how little they care about people actually being the data points. So the first one is that related to ghost jobs. More than 60% created ghost jobs to make employees believe their workload would be alleviated by new workers. 62% of respondents said that they posted ghost jobs expressly to make their employees feel replaceable. 43% stated they used it to give the perception that their company was thriving despite uncertain economic conditions. So just manipulating data. 85% go as far to interview candidates despite not actively hiring for the role. Nearly 70% of them said posting fake jobs listings boosted revenue. 65% said the job ads had a positive impact on morale. 77% reported an uptick in productivity among workers because they were scared of losing their job.
That is the most realistic response. That should absolutely be illegal. There should be criminal charges for that because that's psychological abuse. If your employer or your company is trying to manipulate you into working harder despite not paying you that, that should be illegal. And there should be criminal charges for those who are involved with that.
70% believe that it is morally acceptable to do this. Like how 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 much more disgusting can this get? These are people. These are people just trying to get a job. And we are being manipulated and deceived and all of this. And what you begin to recognize is that when you have the powers that be have absolutely zero incentive and actually be able to profit off of manipulated data, there isn't any reason for things to get better. And you can specifically see this when it's related to the job search platforms like LinkedIn or Indeed. I've already made a video, sharing my perspective on LinkedIn. What we are finding now is 2024 was one of their best years on record. They're growing at a unbelievable rate. And so why would they be incentivized to make things better? Matter of fact, the reason they're growing so much is because their premium memberships are surging. And that's because what people are finding is that you can't network without having the premium membership. And so people are spending, whatever it is, 25 to $40 a month just to be able to network. This isn't how things should be. And
Isn't that twice as on the low end, almost twice as much as a Netflix subscription? On the high end, multiple times more. What the dude, these people are disgusting, bro. These people are fucking evil. They know that the economy is in shambles. They know this. And so they're taking advantage of it as much as possible. Fuck these people. Pieces of
it's
shit.
crucial that we state this. The issue is that this is often intertwined with the discourse of being lazy or whining, or you're going to see comments that are saying that I'm just shilling for communism, that this is communist propaganda, all of these things. The reality is that people shouldn't be working harder because they're scared that somebody's going to replace them, and that isn't even real. That people are starting to kind of work and feel a little more comfortable because they think somebody's gonna finally come and alleviate some of the extra work that they're having to do, when they're not getting paid more. These are things that are fundamentally should be unacceptable. And this isn't a left versus right discussion or a capitalism for socialism, all these things. This just
This is why I'm telling you guys this isn't just going to affect people who vote red or vote blue. It's going to affect all of us because all of us are cogs in the fucking machine. We are all looked at as cash cows. That's the only image that our elites of this society have of us. We're nothing but worker bees to them. So I keep telling you guys it does not matter which way you vote. You can't vote your way out of some shit like this. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. It's not possible. It's not because no one is going to save you. No one's going to save us. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you accept it, the sooner you and I can work together to find a solution. That's why we have to unite and push for actual solutions instead of getting at each other's throats. We would all much rather point the finger at each other because he voted for Biden, even though Biden is a piece of shit, or he voted for Trump, even though Trump is a piece of shit. It does not matter. All of them are pieces of shit. All of them. And I'm not going to get super political with this, but it does not matter who you vote for. It does not matter your sex. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation. It does not matter your race. All of us are being used as fucking tools and discarded as soon as we are no longer useful. Take it from a disabled veteran.
shouldn't be happening because people matter. But when you remove humanity from everything, well, everything is just data points. And the unfortunate reality is that humans, Americans, we no longer view each other as humans or neighbors or friends or, partners. It is just another disposable person, or let me take everything from you to serve my interests the best. And when you have situations like that, you have the last form of resistance that could force some sort of incentive for the powers that be to begin to make changes. I think that's why I stress so much about the importance of labor unions, because if you strip away the biases that you have of the corruption, an interesting thing is I asked my mom. My parents are both very smart and, blue collar workers, very disciplined, patriotic Americans. I think that they're amazing, and they're also baby boomers. But um, I asked my mom, "What are your thoughts on unions? What did you experience growing up?" And she said, "Oh, well, they're run by the mob." And I think that's just so interesting because for a young person, I've never heard that. And there's so many different narratives that have been implemented into the young mind, 1980s, 1970s, 1960s young mind, to degrade the system that did provide resistance. The way that I view labor unions is it's just some sort of unity amongst the working class. It is a way for people to be able to have like a structure, a home to go into to allow discussion to have. You kind of leave some of your thoughts outside and you come in and we're going to agree on this one thing. And when you don't have that, it's very obvious that none of us can agree on a single freaking thing. I mean, it's actually embarrassing how we can't agree on anything and we can't have discussions.
This is something that I also talk about too. We as not just Americans, but Westerners, have become so divided on every single thing. This is our mindset today. If you don't agree with me 100%, you are an enemy of the state. You are subhuman. You're not even human. You're something to be done away with because you don't agree with me 100%. People are going to have disagreements everywhere. Everywhere, people are going to have disagreements. Does that mean that we are less of a human? No, it just means we have differences, right? We have preferences for a way of life. Now, as long as you're not hurting anyone or you're not hurting yourself, there shouldn't be an issue. But people make it an issue because not only are they miserable, but they want everyone else to be miserable. Misery loves company, right? So the rising mental health crisis is one of the symptoms that we are seeing very blatantly now from the social engineering by the powers that be. So we have to stop trying to find something to disagree on, work to actually love our brother, our sister, Americans, and unite and come together. United we stand, right? So we have to stand together. And sure, we're going to have disagreements, but we have to accept those disagreements and not dehumanize each other because of what we believe in. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist, agnostic, Christian, Muslim, uh, Jewish, Hindu. It does not, Buddhist. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you're truly peaceful and you want to work with your fellow Americans to create a brighter future for all of us. That's what matters. And we have to pull our heads out of our own asses, stop being so self absorbed, learn to not only work with people, but learn to accept people for their differences.
the and I've said it before, it's like everybody the American culture is you're expected to know everything, but we're gonna teach you nothing, and we're gonna blame you for not understanding what it is that you don't understand, or I said it more eloquently the first time, but, it's like this cycle of I'm just going to blame the next person that's smaller than me. And when you have that, when you don't have an incentive to make situations better, and the people that are actually experiencing the conflict are just ripping each other apart, it's a recipe for disaster. So that alone, I believe to be why the job market is collapsing. I would even state has collapsed. I think that what we will see here soon in the next couple of years is going to be pretty horrendous in terms of the job market, the ability to get a job. So when you look at structural concerns, well, one of them is clearly that wages are not keeping up. When we got off the gold standard, inflation is deteriorating the working class's ability to progress throughout life. And one of the things that you see again with the incentive for Wall Street to want unemployment data to get worse to allow the stock market to improve because interest rates will lower, all of the wealthy people are putting their money into assets because that's the only thing that's going to be able to overcome the degradation of the dollar. And so what we're seeing is that the stock market is rallying because people don't have faith in the dollar. Now, if you don't have money, you're not able to do that, right? Let me turn the slide on real quick. I'll be right back. We can't comprehend that $15 now and $3 in, whatever, 1980 is the same thing. Maybe that $3 is actually higher. And that also is damaging on the discourse that we have amongst one another. If you speak with someone older and you tell them I'm making $20 an hour, they're like, "God, you're rich." And the reality is it's like $20. I'm not saying that that's nothing, but trying to buy a home when 79% of Americans can't afford the median home, $20 isn't enough. And
The average cost for a home today is $435,000. A decent life for a family of four would cost anywhere from $170,000 to $200,000 a year. The average American makes only $40,000 to $60,000 a year.
I think that there's certain elements like that. The fact that, we are so
So pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Work harder. Okay. Right. Work harder. Yeah. In a broken system. Right. Yeah. The harder you work, the more you starve. Sure. Sure. Yeah. I'm going to let him talk.
quiet and we are so just prone to just go to work, not question the system, continuously have everything suck. You complain all the time. Everybody complains about their job, and yet whenever somebody mentions it, you're instantly met with like resistance. It's kind of the craziest thing that I've experienced. But okay, so wages haven't kept up. Healthcare is not, you're not getting good. Like, when was the last time your insurance with your company actually paid for anything? So you're not getting that incentive. You also have the structural issue of not being able to have to, like, what are you working for? Are you working because you believe in the company? Most likely not. Are you, not anymore? Are you working because you're going to be able to afford a home? There's not a shot. Are you working to be able to pursue your dream? You're probably living paycheck to paycheck. The majority of people are. And so when you have that reality and everybody is just working to work, you know, now there truly is not an incentive to have things get better. And the worse it gets, the more desperate people are going to be. And the unfortunate reality is because we are so divided, we're not going to come together. We're going to rip each other apart even more, and it's going to be violent, and it's going to be disastrous, and it's going to be a real shame. And one of the things that I try to do is I try to reframe some of these topics. Like, minimum wage is a perfect example. There is so much political and ideological bias into minimum wage. I believe minimum wage should be a livable wage. That is what it was intended to do. FDR specifically stated it. I proved it in my minimum wage video. People were still arguing that he said it. And so I believe everybody to deserve a livable wage, especially in the United States. You should deserve a livable wage. Um, I recently just was somewhere where I was walking down a street, and there was a homeless individual that said, "A dollar would help. I'm tired of feeling invisible." And he was so crunched over with a hood over him. The amount of people, and the amount of people that never saw him. It's it's disgusting. And so because we don't have, it's not, we're not making this.
I do understand why people would just walk on by because either one, you don't have it yourself, or two, there are grifters out there that have destroyed your trust. And so I understand. But at the same time, he was just asking for a dollar. He was just asking for a dollar. And the fact that people weren't even acknowledging that, come on, man. If someone needs help, you give them help. And if you're out a dollar, dude, you're just out a dollar. I remember when I was exercising a few days ago, and this isn't to just, and this isn't to, and this isn't to give myself a pat on my back. Even though I knew I only had a couple of dollars on me, I gave this guy my last $2 to go get him some food. He was on the street, so I try to help him out. It's just about helping people. It is what I told you a while ago about small acts of kindness. It's building communities. We have to start building communities and not just stay in our homes all day. Come on, man.
We've stripped the humanity. We just think, our political or ideological biases come in, but you don't see the person that feels invisible, right? And so what I try to do is I try to reframe it and show, hey, nobody is making what they're supposed to be making. Wages have stagnated. If you adjust minimum wage for inflation, it should be $15, and it's something like 25% of Americans aren't even making $15. If you adjusted it for productivity, I think it's like $21. Again, I don't have the data in front of me, but it's around there.
I remember quite a few jobs that I had previously were anywhere from 12 to $14 an hour. You can't even pay rent with that. Dude, you can't even buy groceries for the month with that. No one can live off of that, bro. If it wasn't for my disability, oh boy, I know for a fact I'd be homeless right now.
And it's something like 43% of Americans aren't making $21. And so what I'm trying to show you is that nobody is making enough money, but we can't even get past that resistance. And so when you have some of the proposed, talking points of, we just need universal basic income, I can't even get to thinking about that, because who's going to say we're going to have universal basic income when we can't even raise minimum wage from $7.25? Like, it's not gonna happen, and if it does, it's not gonna be enough, and I'm not saying that I think universal basic income is good or bad. I think that deserves a conversation. I'm more just trying to present a talking point, and when you have these fundamental components, what I hope that you can begin to recognize is that, 1, nobody's gonna come save us. That isn't going to happen.
That is
The
really
other one
sad.
is that we have I think if things get better, the decades of propaganda. And so, I think that this is then when we come to the point of, some of us will just be thinking this is a depressing conversation, right? Um, I think it's important that we begin to reframe these discussions not as depressing or doomer content, but as like spreading awareness. I think that we have gotten to the point where because we don't have any structural foundations that are providing support, we are demanding more from people that can't necessarily give that. I feel like
Yeah, so one thing that really disappoints me a lot is that for the people who are in the red pill space, as I've been in for a while now, it's and actually coming out of, I see so many people who just want to stay in that, and they don't want to come out of it and realize what the actual problems are, because the red pill actually wakes you up to a lot of what's going on, but it doesn't wake you up to everything. It's just, it really appeals to men because obviously as men we go through our own problems, and so we can relate to what's being said a lot of the time in these red pill spaces. And so that being said, we wake up to it and it is depressing. It is, yes. But the fact is that we can't let that determine how we see the world, because then we get stuck in this endless circle of unproductivity, because we get emotional, we get tired, bogged down, mentally exhausted. And instead of redirecting all of that into something that becomes productive eventually, we would much rather sit in the anger instead of channeling that anger into a passion. This is exactly why I started YouTube here, and I got so tired, so fed up, so angry with the way things are going that I decided to help spread awareness about what's actually going on, to help you understand. Well, to help us all understand, hence the name for the channel, right? Figuring it out, right? To help us all figure out what in the fuck is really going on, right? To unite us all together, figure it out together as Americans, as families, and as one unit together, we stand to figure out what the actual problems are and then to figure out a solution to the problem. And so we can't do that if we're constantly in a heightened emotional state. That's exactly the point that I was making in my red pill rage video, you know, a long time ago that I did. Everyone is suffering at this point. It's not just men, it's not just women, it's everyone. Everybody is suffering. And so again, we just got to set aside our differences and work to work toward a common goal, and that common goal being a better future for everyone. All of the average Americans. Fuck the oligarchies, they can fuck off. I don't give a shit. Those guys have more than what anyone could ever have in their entire lives that they would even know what to do with. So they'll be beyond fine.
my content does a really good job, and I'm very proud of it, of spreading awareness. But then I get met
I
with,
appreciate it, buddy. I
you
really do.
know, this is just talk. This isn't providing value. You're not providing solutions. It's very difficult for a 25-year-old who is spending 60 hours a week just to make this content to also combat decades um, of deceit and manipulation, especially when, my last video, I spent 60 hours on it and I made it was like $180. A video for me is profitable if it crosses about 330,000 views. It is unbelievably difficult to get a video to hit 330,000 views. And so I'm consistently trying to do the best I can, but it's very difficult to to kind of do everything. And so the reason I say that is because I need help. And the way that I need help is for you to listen to what it is that I'm saying. We
Not just listen to what he's saying, but actually apply it to your life. I'm pretty sure that's what he was meaning there. Yeah, just not just to listen, but understand what he was actually saying.
have to come together. And it isn't gonna be like us hugging each other. Like, we just have to be able to sit at a table and have a conversation. And we don't even have to agree. We just have to start talking. And so at the end of my videos, the
Absolutely agree. All really great points. Let's read some of the comments. As a millennial, I got a taste of fake job posts before COVID. This stuff should be severely punished by it should be. It absolutely should be. That's exactly what I was saying. It should be criminalized. These people should be receiving prison time for faking all of this shit. I mean, God forbid you fuck up tax season and you get thrown in fucking jail because God forbid you didn't dot a T on your fucking tax forms and they throw you in jail. On fucking real. And these people get away with it. There are no repercussions for them. And we don't hold them accountable. We don't. We don't. We just go, oh well, that sucks, and we'll complain about it for 5 minutes online, and then we'll go back into work the next day. None of us take to the streets to protest. None of us take time out of our days to make even a small clip and just post it online. None of us do that. None of us call our local representatives and tell them our grievances, voice our concerns. We don't do that. We don't do that. I mean, I remember so many people brag almost every single presidential election cycle about being the silent majority, being proud that if they had to do something, that they would do something. You're not going to do shit, dude. You're not going to do anything. You're silent sheep. That's what you are. I really hate that because then you have people who go on to your content. They don't understand the mindset that it takes to hop on here and to put so much time and effort into something to get people to understand what's actually going on, and then they don't, and yet they still complain about what's going on. I cannot wrap my head around that. If you complain about it, then do something about it instead of complaining about it. Just do something instead of bitching and complaining. It's not hard. Competitive dating, competitive job marketing, competitive apartment hunt. Lovely time to be alive. Yeah, so great. So great to be alive. So great to be alive in this time. Honestly, can't believe we managed to make things worse than they were 10 years ago because in 2015, the job market was horrible. Did you not see the early 1900s? I made a video about the shirtwaist incident. And listen, it's not as bad as locking your workers in while a fire is going on, but they still want you to come in on your days off. They still want you to go above and beyond your job description, not pay you for it. They still want you to do these things for free and then cut you as soon as it's cheapest for them. So, yeah, it's a lot worse than what we even started with the unions to begin with. We've essentially come full circle. All right, we'll read one more. There is no world anymore. It's only corporations. That is a perfect one to end on, too. Yes, that is absolutely right. We are nothing but cash cows to them. Every single thing is a means to make money to these people. That's it. That is it. America has found a skill to make money literally off of anything. Anything. At the expense of the American people because I mentioned them even shipping jobs overseas. So, well, like I said, there's a way that we can fix this. It's not going to be voting. It's me banding together, coming together as one people, Americans, regardless of who you are, and understanding what the real issues are. working for a solution to fix those issues. Hopefully, this video helped you guys out. And if it did, please like, share, subscribe. I'd love to have you guys join the family. We are on a journey to change the society for the better. And I am happy to be alongside Damon Cassidy to do so. If you want to watch the full video, I'll link it down in the description below. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you need me for anything, please reach out. I'm always here. Remember to take care of yourselves, both mind and body. Take care of each other. I love you all. Wish you a lovely day. And I'll talk to you guys soon.